My name is Denis Ivanov, and I am Lead Localization Manager at Belka Games. Today, I will try to explain you how we halved the time for LQA, more specifically, how we made the transition as smooth as it possible for our team, why we decided to look for alternatives to Google Spreadsheets, and the results we achieved. So here is a little company promo. We make awesome mobile games like Clockmaker, Solitaire Cruise, and Bermuda Adventures with a combined user audience of 1 million daily users. Here you can see our story and achievements. So our localization is handled by one team, ours. We have sprints every 2 weeks, but our locits are updated daily. For as long as I can remember, we have been using Google Spreadsheets, and everyone were happy about it. But we had a feeling that there is something else, something better. So, you know the saying, if find broke, don't fix it. It was basically not about us. Google Spreadsheets served us really well. It's great and perfect tool for many specialists, but it wasn't cutting it anymore. And here is why. Imagine, so narrative designer throws in the text into the spreadsheet, then localization manager coming on board, followed by different specialists like developers, testers, game designers, and so on. So in the end, everything turns into the construction of the Tower of Babel, which ends up in total chaos. In addition to problems with interaction between specialists you have to constantly duplicate repetitive phrases by hand. You have to check the consistency of the translation. You have to check the history so as not to miss edits in a source. And you have to check compliance with the source. And don't get even started with the glossaries. Making sure all the game terms were consistent was a real headache. And let's not forget about occasional human errors that people made sometimes, and a lot of other problems. Too many people had access to spreadsheets, and we didn't have an option to restrict it in any way. Basically, we wanted more. We wanted automation tools, better access controls, a custom UI, a more straightforward way of tracking changes, translation memory, built-in glossary, machine translation, automatic QA, and LQA checks. So over a few months, we collected information about different and various CAT and CMS tools. We tested them, discussed them, and considered the pros and cons. But for a long time, the search didn't bear fruit. We needed to find something as similar as it possible to Google Spreadsheets to make the transition as smooth as it possible for our team, but better, faster, stronger, and with more features and tools. So CAT tools didn't satisfy the first criterion. They were perfect for localization managers only, and for others, it would be a real headache because of their complicated interfaces and UI. So then a colleague suggested me to check out Gridly, and as soon as I saw it, I had a feeling that that's the one tool to localize them all. So we started with a trial on Solitaire Cruise project and got the technical team on board. It was perfect project to transfer because people often complained about its difficult workflows and complicated situations with spreadsheets. So most importantly, its storage allowed us to transfer all text from one platform to another without any problem. We had a few meetings, discussed all necessary preparations, and started the transition to the new and still very little known platform for us. So let's go, in and out, 20 minutes adventure. Basically, no. OK. We weren't deeply integrated into Google Spreadsheets. We had a script that generated text files for each language. With a click of a button in Unity editor, the text would be put together in a folder, parsed, and used in a game. First challenge was to generate these files from data in Gridley, which we retrieved from an API. Instead of using the existing Gridley Unity plugin, we decided to write our own solution because it was easier for us. The integration process was straightforward: send request, get data, process, and assemble. But soon we realized that the API wasn't too friendly. It was like a layer cake with multiple requests needed to get to the data. So next, we planned the flow, considering all potential needs and pitfalls. With the project team, we put together a wish list and turned it into the to-do list. Then we started testing the platform only with LiveOps team only, and it went well. So we began the transition for the whole project. We are fortunate to have democracy in our process, and we follow the principle of cooperative solutions. That's one of the reasons why we paid special attention to training. No matter how great your tool is, if you not invest in onboarding, it could create chaos, dissatisfaction, and people will ask you to turn it back. And it would be a real problem for us, because if people didn't like it, we would really have to roll back all the changes. Gridley was like a smorgasbord of features, and we wanted to try them all. We picked the ones that would give us the biggest impact, and here is what ended up on our table. Branch creation. Now testers can separate changes from different sources, and it's really useful when you need to work on several files at once. Customizable views in a grid system. This allows us to restrict access to certain views and columns, so each department only sees the information they need. And also, it saves us from mistakes and typos. Screenshot. We can snap screenshots now directly in a build and send it to Gridley. A built-in translation memory and glossary. The system automatically inserts translated text directly in rows, and it helps us to keep text consistent. So the development and testing process also changed for the better. We no longer have to wait for builds to compile, can compare multiple localized files, and have LQA validator for extra checks. The flow hasn't changed much. The only difference is that instead of bugging the developer every time we have mistakes or bugs, now localization manager and QA team handles it together. This frees up the developer from routine work and also optimizes our processes. The new feature have made localization a breeze, and we receive only positive feedback from our team. So to wrap it up, we had a few goals in our mind when we switched to Gridley. We wanted to keep the developers out of the localization process as much as it possible, make the transition as smooth as it possible for them, and also we added some missing features from spreadsheets. And I'm happy to say that we hit the mark on all of those. Not only we reduced the time for LQA testing by 2 times, but the quality of our work hasn't suffered a bit. Our vendor, by the way, loving it too. Gridley integrates great with Phrase and MemoQ. Translations now go straight from vendor's MemoQ to our grid and back. And by the way, Gridley's customer service is a top-notch. Once we had a problem with a scrolling issue, and they fixed it within a week. It's pretty much quick, isn't it? Of course, there are always a few drawbacks to any change. Gridley's feature-rich platform is not as quite fast as spreadsheets, and using a third-party service can be tricky sometimes. But I think that pros far outweigh the cons here. And so what exactly helped us to halve the time for LQA? So it's automatic QA and LQA checks, customizable views, screenshots and game story evaluation, CAT tool integration, built-in glossary, translation memory, less human errors, and less specialists involved now into the process. So All in all, we only gained from switching to Gridly. Solitaire Cruise and Clockmaker are already on board, and our other projects are next. It's Bermuda Adventures and Release, and Research and Development Department are next. Of course, perfect is the enemy of good, but you shouldn't put up with constant mismatches and problems in your pipelines and documents. Sometimes it's worth going out of your comfort zone and looking for something better and something new. And now, when we've got a few more minutes, I want to show you what we were fighting for. Okay, so here it's Gridly. Yeah, we are working in template and master branch. Here we're using default view. We have only one string with a blue color. It's colored in blue with the status QA verified. So everything starts when narrative designer takes his text from Confluence or other place, and he puts keys and text inside the Gridly. He changes the color here to the yellow, and the status automatically sets to ready to translate. Then he asks the localization manager to check, to take all the text to the translation. So then localization manager comes to the grid, and he sees that for 3 strings here, the translation was pulled from the translation memory. Yeah, you can see this TM sign. He changes the color to green and the status to translated. Yeah, by the way, here he cannot make edits in record ID column, yeah, and it's safe from any change. For other strings, he changes the color to orange and put the status in translation. After this, he comes to the vendor and asks him to translate everything. So the vendor pushes all the text to the memo queue, translates there, and then pushes it back. Localization manager making here, yeah, he's working in translator view, and he checks all the strings, making a proofreading here, changes the color for all of the strings to the green, and status to translated. After this, he asks the developer to pull all the text directly into the build. So when the build is ready and developer uploaded all the text, our localization manager asks the vendor to check all the text directly in the build. So here, when they start working, they can see they're working in QA view, and they have a special column here with screenshots, which made by our localization managers or QA before. So as soon as it's ready and LQA finished, here our LQA vendor found mistake in the German language. He colors it into the Turkish color, yeah, and changes the status to LQA updated. So here, how is the screenshot looks like if you enlarge it. Yeah, it's highlighted, the text highlighted here in red, and it's uploaded automatically to the Gridly. Yeah. And final stage, localization manager transfers everything to our in-house QA. He checks only the cells with a problem. Here was, here, German one. So if everything is okay in a build and no more mistakes were found, he changes the color for all of the strings to blue and sets the status QA verified. So, and in the future, if we'll need to go back and check this text again, or we'll do reuse, our QA, in-house QA and vendors QA don't need to go to the build again and check it there. They now have screenshots for all of the localization, like directly in a Gridly. So, thank you for your attention. I hope you heard something useful for you, and I will be glad to hear your questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, I already see 2 hands raised. So first the lady in the back, and then you.
Hi, thank you for your talk. It was really interesting, especially for us right now, because we are in studio and we don't have the biggest budget for the localization. So do you have any experience with working with volunteers as the translators? Because we have a lot of people that want to just help, but you don't really have a way to verify if their work will be okay for the localization. So what are your two tips for working with volunteers about localizations?
Okay, so when I just came to the company, we had this process. We were working with volunteers and also with people who liked our games. They were just fans who wanted to help us with the localization. Sometimes we also listening them if they write us like several, reviews or questions in our community. I remember we worked a lot, but then we decided to switch to one company, and just because the quality of the text was not the same all the time, because sometimes volunteers have the time to help you with the text and sometimes not. And if you have a big project with a lot of text and your deadlines are really short, sometimes it could be a problem. But I think it's a good idea to work sometimes with the volunteers and help them, and they also help you. So I think, is it okay?
Yes, sure, thank you.
Thank you. And we have the second person here in the front. No. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ibrahim. I'm the LQA for Arabic in EPAM. I'm just interested how or if you guys dealt with Arabic, because Arabic is a right to left, and it's not just the text. It's sometimes the UI elements have to be organized from right to left, and if because you halved the time for localization, but did that also include these elements? Thank you.
With Arabic, unfortunately, we cut the screenshot here, but if you will see like the whole Gridley page, you will see the Arabic there. We decided to add it maybe 2 years ago to Solitaire Cruise project. And it was a tricky and also gave us some problems in the beginning because of UI and all this stuff. And we still using some help from native speakers from Arabic countries, because sometimes we want to enroll to like some celebrations and like Ramadan and whatever, and we need someone to help us, because having a consultant here are always useful. And with LQAs, we're also using native Arabic speakers, because otherwise it will be really difficult to maintain the good quality of your text. And this language, it's perfect and it's difficult, but it's always a challenge. Like, should you add it to your game or not? But I think the answer is yes, you should add this language. It's perfect.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I see another person.
Hi, my name is Jakub. I have a question more related with the web designs, because I have experience with the translations from web designs, and we have a similar tool. It was internal CMS, and we was able to give access to external studios to just make the one transition, for example, for Portuguese. And I think we have problems that somebody translate the word that is totally not match the UI. Mm-hmm. So we sometimes need one word, so we need the context. So is this provide something like that you could give context that this should be a short word because it must fit in 10 letters maximum or something like that?
In Gridley, now here we also have a special view with the limits. You can just write the limits you need and set them. So like in our system, it's like if you more than limit, you have your cells will be colored in red, and if it's okay, they will be colored in green. And also you can use screenshots. I mean, if you like connect them with the Gridley and make some automation there, they will go directly to your grids, and you will see all the references, and it will be easier to understand what the words the translator should use there.
All right, thank you. Okay, I cannot see any hands raising, so thanks once again for the presentation.
Thank you.